is extremely relevant. He's a visionary jazz artist and viral entrepreneur. He's a philanthropist. Rick has just amazingly surpassed 1 million weekly impressions on a single social media platform. You got 1 million impressions on LinkedIn in a week?
Well, I'll tell you what happened, Crystal. I have a book, and the book is called Paving the Path for Peace Through Music. And the
Uh-huh.
book was stuck at Amazon, probably because we reveal so much in this crazy book, because we
Mm-hmm.
reveal a lot. Jazz for Peace, as you get to know, as we go through this, you'll see all the stuff we've learned, all, about peace and everything. And it was stuck over there. And meanwhile, LinkedIn, we weren't really getting many looks at LinkedIn. And we were like, what's going on here? And we were putting that in the book that, what we were putting in the book was we were saying, look, it looks like peace is being censored, and you can't censor peace if
Right.
you want to. If you and if you don't want to blow up the world, you got, you know what I mean. You censor war, but not peace. You know what I mean. Don't
Yeah.
censor
Right.
peace. We're screaming, don't do that. All of a sudden, the book is stuck now at Amazon for whatever reason. It's stuck in there. It supposed to be released a month earlier. It's just sitting in Amazon. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. And now all of a sudden, like LinkedIn, they're like, all of a sudden our posts are being seen. I don't know,
Mm.
miracles happen, right? Now they're being seen, and now they're being seen in droves. I mean, our posts are being looked at, and I'm watching this amazing, crazy things. Like, I would go out, we would post some things and then go out and come back at the end of the day, and it'd be like 150,000 views, it would say, for the day or whatever. Just
Wow.
crazy stuff like that. So I was like, wow, if we top 1 million, because that's
Uh-huh.
unheard of.
Right.
Honestly, we were lucky to top 1,000 before, because,
Right.
and then some stuff was getting taken down, and it was getting restricted, and they were getting mad at us, and like, why are you getting mad at us? That was it. So I'm like, if this tops 1 million, we're gonna have to document, because no one's gonna believe it. No,
Right.
I mean, I'll tell somebody, they won't believe me. So
Especially on LinkedIn. You
true.
because you see people get 1 million views or impressions on YouTube or Instagram but
Right.
never LinkedIn. I've
Well,
never
and I
heard.
think the reason why is because Jazz for Peace is promoting peaceful solutions to things like the Mid East
Mm-hmm.
crisis. And people know that Jazz for Peace was the one that brought Israelis, Palestinian, and American jazz musicians together at the United Nations
Mm-hmm.
23 years ago. In 2002, 22 years ago, we did one of the first Jazz for Peace concerts. Was when I brought Israeli, Palestinian, and American jazz musicians together at the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot, maybe people feel guilty. I don't know. They should, because
Right.
we should have been building from there, But instead,
Right.
everybody, oh, that was a nice thing he did, nice gesture. Now they see, had we addressed this problem back then when I
Mm.
wanted to, and when I was uniting Palestinians, Americans, and Israelis, when I was uniting everybody, and we were building on that, maybe we wouldn't be in this pickle now.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. You're right. And music brings people together too. That's like hip hop. Hip hop brings people together in all different cultures, And I remember coming up going to a lot of I'm a music. I love music. I play an instrument myself. I play a flute. I played the
Wow,
flute from the time all my life basically.
great.
And right after high school, I stopped playing, but I currently have a flute right now. And yeah, I love music. I'm a music fanatic. I love music. I love hip hop. I love jazz. I even started listening to country music. I was never a person who listened to country music, but I love country music. And that has nothing to do with Beyonce. I know she has a big song out right now in country, but like yesterday I was in my car and I'm driving and I just happened to I was turning my station and I turned it to a country station, and it was by accident. And there is a song playing and I'm listening to the song and I'm listening to the lyrics. But when you listen to lyrics to songs,
Mhm.
a lot of the songs, the lyrics are all related to situations that everybody can relate to. And even in country music, you know what I mean? If you listen to the lyrics, you can relate to a lot of the things that the country artist is saying, you know. So but yeah, I love music. I've
Country
been
music is very big on the lyrics, and as you grow older, those lyrics resonate with you because all of a sudden you realize your life was touched by what they're talking about. You know,
yeah,
now as a
exactly.
teenager you might not, and then you may say, "Oh, it's kind of corny," and I don't, the lyrics because you haven't been affected. You're too young. You haven't lived
Mhm.
what they're talking about. But then
Right.
as you get a certain age, you start, wait a minute, and there are amazing lyrics in country music.
Yeah, they are. And you know, my grandkids, they listen to all kinds of music. They know lyrics to all kinds of almost every song. You know, sometimes if I have my oldest granddaughter who's 22 in the car, she knows lyrics to almost every song that they play on the radio. And then I'm talking about variety of music, not just R&B and hip hop, but she knows pop, she knows some country songs. And that's what sparked my interest into listening to other music outside of R&B, hip hop, pop, you know. I started
I once took the words from a folk song, which is very similar to country music. It's basically the people songs in these small communities or whatever. And it was a
mm,
folk song. I liked the lyrics so much that I wrote a completely different melody over it, and
mhm,
I did a jazz version of
right.
a folk song, but it was really a jazz version of folk lyrics because the
Mm.
lyrics were just so powerful.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing what you could do with music. You could be very creative in music. You can just do a lot with it. So Rick, tell the audience about yourself. Let's talk about 9/11. Okay.
Hey.
What happened in 9/11 that
Well,
sparked this whole Jazz for Peace thing that you created?
what happened leading up to that is what we were just talking about how I was getting the memo in a big way by being a musician, by traveling all around the world and all kinds of different bands and playing all kinds of music, whether it was R&B and country or whatever. And then I was coming out as a jazz artist with my own records,
Mm,
of course, that I was influenced by great jazz musicians that I had played with as well. I'd been an
okay.
opening act for Dizzy Gillespie. I had been the pianist in the Artie Shaw band, and I played with tons of amazing musicians that you've never heard of because jazz is kind of marginalized. And there's musicians that I think are unbelievable, and I'd say their name, nobody would ever heard of them. But
Right.
anyway, all these people had influenced me as well. So now I had realized from playing music and traveling around the world that exactly what you're saying, music really cuts through every barrier that could possibly divide us. If you don't speak the same language, you can play the music. If
Mm-hmm.
there's different religions, music,
Mm-hmm.
if they're too, what I mean, race, what I mean, it doesn't matter. The
Right.
music will cut through and reach people and go right into their heart,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was realizing all that. And at the same time, I was playing with all kinds of musicians in and around New York City because we have jam sessions. When you first come to New York, you want to meet everybody and you want to play. And people have jam sessions in their apartments. And I used to tell people, there was an Israeli and a Palestinian person at a jam session I did the other night, and they were fascinated. You got to be kidding me! I thought they were at war. I said nobody's warring. That they were as friendly as possible, and people
Mm.
were blown away. And they said, "Well, you got to do something about that. You should really mention that you play with." And I said, "Well, yeah, I guess, I guess." But then
Mm-hmm.
9/11 happened, and I happened to be living down there. I was living in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and I received a phone call from a person who had taken pictures of me the day before. She was kind of a pseudo photographer who had a job on Wall Street to pay for her photography habit. She took pictures all over the world, and she
Right.
loved to take pictures of musicians that she thought maybe were going to be famous someday, and then the pictures would be worth something. So she
Right.
had taken pictures of me, then she would give me the negatives. It's something they do in New York. These photographers do that stuff, and
Yeah.
she had done that. And she calls me the next day, all frazzled. I'm so sorry to wake you up. I just, we spent the day together. I don't know who to call. What's the problem? What's going on? Well, something. And I was like, I said, you know what? I'll just go up on my roof and figure this out because some idiot probably flew a kite into there. Come on, what could
Right.
this be? I go
Right.
up on the roof and it was like walking into the set of a movie. I'm less than a quarter of a mile away, and I have like a luxury box office seat to this whole thing. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
the other building hadn't even been hit.
Mm.
Only one. So I saw, I was watching it, I was like, it was almost like, I got a tip, or something. So
Right.
it was a crazy thing. And everyone had a crazy day on that day, but I had probably had the craziest day at all watching it firsthand from such a bird's eye view, and
Right.
not realizing that so few people in the world had seen what I'd seen, and that some people would be interested in what I saw. Well, at the end of that day, I had one thing to show for it, and that was a bunch of words that just came out, and I scribbled them on a piece of paper. While I was just why I know what to do, and I'm
Right.
on a roof, and let me take this pencil and paper, just write these words down because they're coming out anyway. It's not
Right.
like I was thinking about them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was like your water breaking if you're pregnant or something. I've never, I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing, your
Right.
water breaks, that baby's coming out whether you like it or not. These
Right.
words came out whether I liked it or, you know what I mean? The words are coming. So I figured, rather than let them just go in the air and disappear, I'll write them on a piece of paper. So
Right.
that's all I had. I called the poem Jazz for Peace. And then I decided, well, what am I going to do with this poem? It's like you gave birth. What am I going to do with this kid now?
Right.
So all of a sudden, what am I going to do with this poem? I'm like, wow, these words are kind of powerful. Maybe I'll try to live up to them for 2 or 3 days, because everyone talks the talk. Almost nobody ever walks it, right?
Right. That's true.
Talk the talk, they never walk the
That's
walk.
true.
But I'm sitting there with the words and I wrote them and they came out whether I liked it or not. So I got to do something here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try a couple of days. I'll live up to the words. Well, I'm still doing it. Every day I try to live up to the words of a poem I wrote. I'm that.
Right.
I call it Jazz for Peace, and like I said, living up to the words meant that I had to recite the poem. So I was on a jazz festival when the country finally opened up again, like 2 weeks later. I was on a plane down to Savannah, Georgia, and I was a headliner at a big jazz festival,
Mm-hmm.
and I recited the poem.
Mm-hmm.
And that resonated all over the place. People were crying, and even the band members were, taken aback, and everybody was so emotional. And then I get back upstate here,
Mm-hmm.
and the promoters of my next concert. What's going on? We just heard about this. The press is calling. What is this thing you recited now? What's going on here? And it ends up being published in an article, and then I put it to music, and then I perform it. Then the press writes, DellaRatta starts concert with Jazz for Peace. So now I'm just launched out of you know what I mean? I'm just
Wow.
launched out like a rocket with this Jazz for Peace thing.
Mm.
So what am I going to do now? So everything's a what am I going to do now moment, leading
Right.
to a benefit concert, leading to a concert at the United Nations where I
Mm-hmm.
brought together Israeli, Palestinian, and Americans, which people are finally figuring out now, 20 years later. But that's the way it is in the arts too. You have to realize the artist is way ahead of their time. I mean, probably the artist is just embracing common sense, and people don't embrace common sense. But nevertheless, just for embracing common sense, I think you can be way ahead of your time.
Nice.
So 20 years later, they're catching up to me. Hey, wait a minute, you were right. Little old you was right.
Mm.
So I mean, there's nobody who won't say. Nobody says I'm wrong now, or that was a waste of time. Everyone's like, "Whoa, we should have listened to you back then."
Right.
So one thing led to another, which eventually became an instrument donation program that helps kids with instruments. It became an educational program in the schools. And then the biggest thing of all was the benefit concert series that redefines peace by saying, if you help an outstanding cause,
Mm-hmm.
you are not only solving a problem today, but you're stopping a potential problem tomorrow. Because
Mm.
outstanding cause, you're reaching not only them, but all of their outreach. And not only
Right.
that, that's with an art form, the American art form of jazz, that has the ability to have a profoundly positive effect on just one person. So
Mm.
there are historical things, and there are historical precedent of people profoundly positively affected. So if you profoundly positively affect somebody,
Right.
imagine all the good that you're doing when that person goes all the way through life profoundly positively affected. And we found that in historical, in the history archives too, when we found this guy named George Black or something like that, who was basically a kid in the West Coast in a city that was very much he was a racist by default. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
he lived in a kind of town where if you grew up in this town, you might not have been racist because you're born fine, but
Right.
because of the, you know what I mean, all of the rules and all the black, colored only, all this stuff, you become
Yeah.
racist even if you don't know it. You don't even know it.
Right.
You're not trying to.
Right.
Anyway, he had gone to a school dance or something, some kind of a thing where you're supposed to meet hopefully your future wife or something, and he got fixated on the trumpet player in the band,
Mm.
and he had concluded, because sometimes when young kids they want to be big shots and make up their own mind about something, how,
Right.
right? So he's like, I'm gonna make this is me now that's saying this. That man's a genius. I watched him on stage. I see he's a genius. Well, that man happened to be Louis Armstrong, who was black.
Mm.
So now he's like, what the heck have I just, what the heck is going on? I know he's a genius, but why isn't he allowed to vote if he's a genius?
Mm-hmm.
Why does he have to go? Why can't he stay in that hotel? Why can't, why this, why that? He ended up being so profoundly, positively affected by the music being so powerful, and his realization, that specific realization, that he went on to become a United States, I believe, a congressman, a senator. He wrote, authored Brown versus the Board of Education. He wrote it.
Wow. Wow.
And towards the end of his life, they asked him, they said, you come from this little small town. How come so many people, become this, that, and the other? You did all this. And he said, what do you attribute that to? And he said, jazz.
Mm.
So here I am in a position where I'm helping an outstanding cause, but even in the worst case scenario, I'm playing a music that just by itself has the ability to have a profoundly positive effect on someone. So this benefit concert series, we've helped over 850 causes all around the world, and places where people don't even know it's part of the world. You know what I mean? They don't existed. I mean, I've been to Africa 9 times, and I've been to places in Africa where nobody from America's gone. Good luck finding someone who's been to some of the places I've been, because I went to help the outstanding cause,
Right.
not to, vacation or see the sights, because when you go to these countries, a lot of times you just go to a little spot and see specific things, and
Right.
it's a vacation or something. It's not a vacation for me. I was like in the trenches, you know what I mean?
Right.
With the people. And so when I started to come back from all these things, people who knew what I was doing, they say, I want you to play something. I say, okay, what do you want me to play? What song you want to play? They say, I just want you to play something from now.
Right.
Why is that? They said, because I know you've been to Rwanda, you've been to Chaka in Kenya, you've been to these, but who knows what's going to come out with a piano when you play? I might hear something from Pakistan, from an experience you had in Pakistan. Who knows what your influence is going to be? You see what I mean? So that led me into, a situation where, my music became very improvisatory and also spontaneous and in the moment, so that people could hear my journey rather than just hearing a song that maybe I could have played when I was 12. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to hear something that is only in the now and could come from anywhere. It could come from the, standing in front of the Nile River where I was one day.
Right.
Anything, you just don't know.
Yeah, because you're telling a story, basically, You're telling a story with music. And that could be with any music. It could be with R&B, it could be with hip hop, it could be jazz, it could be country. You're telling a story, and it could be a life story, it could be a fiction story. But a lot of stories that are told through music, a lot of people can relate to what's being said in those lyrics. You know what I mean? So, um, that's an amazing thing, that it's like something that this birth that you gave birth to, and it just took off and went places that you probably never imagined it would go.
Well, and not only that, but it makes me realize that anybody can, everyone, in other words, these things are bigger than us. I don't attribute me to it.
Yeah.
Even when I play music, it's coming through me. Now, of course, all of my studies and all my experience and everything's playing into it. But when I'm actually improvising, it's literally coming through me. I'm more of a conduit. And so, you know what? That's getting close to the essence of what life is. In other words, we should all kind of consider the possibilities that the universe is granting us, rather than only the subliminal messages that we're receiving from a potato chip company.
Right. That's true. That's true. So tell me about some of the artists that you opened up for.
Well, the most famous artist I was the opening act and MC for was named Dizzy Gillespie. And Dizzy Gillespie, if you ever look him up, he's one of the founders of
Yeah, I know who he is. Mm-hmm.
Bebop. Okay, so there you go. So I wasn't an opening act per se. I mean, I'm just a musician. But
Right.
what happened with that was, I was only 19 years old,
Okay.
and I used to call just as whatever I could do. I used to call up people just to see if I don't know why I'd call people on the phone. And there was
Mm.
this old man that would talk to me. Nobody else would talk to me, but this
Right.
old man would talk to me, and he would talk about music. And he was like, "What are you studying?" And I would tell him this, and I would tell him that, and I would tell him this. And I don't know why I would call this old man over at this club called Tinkers, and I
Mm-hmm.
would talk to him, and he would talk to me. One day I get a phone call, and this
Mm-hmm.
guy says he's the son of the owner of Tinker's Jazz Club. Now,
Mm.
I was in college, and we used to play pranks on
Mm-hmm.
play, what college kids do, you know what I mean? They play
Right.
jokes. And I thought this guy, I'm listening, oh, you are, huh? Okay, yeah. And I'm trying to figure out who's disguising their voice. Which one of my college friends is in on this? You know what I mean? This is a prank,
Mm-hmm.
My father was shot. Now it gets more unbelievable as we're going along. You follow me? His father
Mm-hmm.
was shot. Oh, your father was shot. I'm gonna kill this friend if I'm gonna, whoever it is, I'm gonna kill the guy when I catch. You know what I mean? There was this, but I don't believe any of it. I'm just trying to figure out who's playing this joke on me. And I'm trying to. Who did I play a joke on? Maybe it's. And then he's like, this man is so and so is my father's best friend. He was his trusted friend all their life. Tells me a story about this old man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the old man says that he has to call me because he needs opening acts for these big names that are coming in this club.
Mm-hmm.
And the son doesn't know what to do except listen to the old man, because
Right.
his father's not there, and his father ran the club, and he doesn't know what to do. He just inherited this freaking club, so he's listening, and he's got no one to listen to but the old man. And the
Mm-hmm.
old man told him to call me. So now I'm like, who the hell could make this up? I mean, which one of my friends could make it up? Because none of my friends know that I was calling this old man.
Right. Right.
Nobody knew I talked to this guy. I was just doing it. You know what I mean? I was like, this was a little thing I did on my own. I didn't tell anybody this, that I talked to some old man somewhere.
Right.
He says, I got these people coming in now. Which one? I said, you got this one on this date, this one this way. I got Dizzy Gillespie. I got blah, blah. I said, did you just say Dizzy Gillespie? I said, yeah, Dizzy. And then and which one do you want? I said, well, when's Dizzy Gillespie coming in? Oh, he's coming in. He's coming in real soon.
Right.
He said, I'm just going to take Dizzy Gillespie because in my mind, I don't even know if this club's going to be open by the time these other people that he's talking about. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And I mean, if Dizzy Gillespie isn't good enough for me, then I need a psychiatrist. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's good enough for anybody, right?
Right.
So yeah, and they put me in a room with Dizzy Gillespie. The crazy thing is, his band was in another room. There's
Mm.
a dressing room, just me and Dizzy Gillespie in the dressing room, and the other
Wow.
band was in some other room.
Wow. Isn't that something?
And I was just me hanging out with Dizzy Gillespie for hours, and
Mm-hmm.
then we would go on stage together, and I would go out and I'd introduce him, and with all this stuff, and it was just crazy. So it was unbelievable. So what happened with that is I knew so much about Dizzy Gillespie because I was hanging out with him like this in a dressing room, talking about anything.
Yeah.
I knew so much about him that I got a call one day from one of the greatest bass players in jazz history. If you look this guy up, his name is Eddie Gomez, and he's
Mm.
a
Okay.
great bass player in the whole history of jazz. And he calls me up, and of course I was playing with him at that time because I'd started to, I was like moving on up like the Jeffersons. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I'm playing with some. Now I find myself playing with some of these big names. He calls me up. He's like, Rick. And I'm like, how many? Because I'm not used to him calling me. I'm usually calling him like, hey man, I got a big festival. I need you on this gig.
Right.
He's calling me. He says, yeah, I wrote this melody about Dizzy Gillespie, and I was wondering if I could show it to you.
Mm.
Okay, I said, well, why you want to? I said, it's probably amazing. Why do you need me to see it? He said, well, because I played with Dizzy Gillespie music. I said, but you really knew Dizzy Gillespie. I said, I did. We hung out, blah, blah, blah. He said, I need you to write the lyrics to this. He needs
Mm.
somebody. writes about Dizzy Gillespie. So I wrote the words about Dizzy Gillespie, which are really the real words. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Wow.
I wrote words that most people don't even know, because these words are like this. Let me just play how this goes. Okay.
Yeah, give me a little bit of that.
He made his name in bebop. So he made his name in bebop. He played a style that swung in a new way, but many folks said, okay, so it swung in a new way, but many folks said that it wasn't music, it was just a bunch of wrong notes. See, people don't know that. Okay, that it wasn't music, it was just a bunch of wrong notes. That's what people said at that time. You see what I mean? But he stuck to it. He let time move along, and just when they figured him out, he took a trip over to Cuba, and it was so he took a trip over to Cuba. So just when they thought they had him all figured out now, he went to Cuba. And it was a big step for Latin jazz. Now we prove we're good, thriving, good peace and love to music. He spoke the message, remember things that horn, stuff all the face. That kind of puppy when he played his trumpet, that is what they call their cheeks. So you see what I mean? So, okay. So, and then it goes into, a swing and blues. And so anyway, that's, so that song is, a song that we wrote together. And he's like, he was happy because that's what he wanted. He wanted someone to tell him what Dizzy Gillespie was really like as a player. So I was able to do that.
Wow. Could you tell us about a particular challenging project or experience you faced and how you overcame it?
Well, there have been a lot. There have been so many. Oh wow, there's been so many. Let's see. I mean, one that I refer to a lot, and I just, because it always just comes up, was man, there's so many. I don't even know. I mean, I'll tell you a new one. There was one.
Life is full of challenges, so
it's full of it. I mean,
yeah.
I took a trip. Well, I took a trip once to Africa, and I had a concert in Nigeria. And when I got to Nigeria, I didn't have my bags because my bags were in Paris, because there was a strike in Paris, and the workers decided to grab people's bags and you know what I mean, like inconvenience the airline. You know what I mean, because the airline wasn't treating them well.
Right.
So now I'm stuck in Africa for something like 2 weeks with nothing.
Wow.
And the only thing I could do was trust the universe. I just had to say, I have nothing, but I'm going to just have to, rely on, just like I do if I'm improvising.
Right.
I'm just going to have to allow the beauty of life or whatever, and just trust that it somehow comes together.
Right.
And I couldn't even find the people I was supposed to meet at there. So now I'm in the airport. I'm in Nigeria, and I've been to Nigeria, and I can't even find these people. Finally, I found them, and I had to do a makeshift kind of thing the whole time because I didn't have anything, and I just had to kind of make it through here and there and there and here with what little I had. And if you watch that concert, you will see me in African clothes, because they had to give me African clothes to wear. So if you put Rick DellaRatta live in Nigeria, everybody loves it because they're like, oh my God, African clothes. That was such a good idea.
Right. It was.
Yeah, it was a great idea. But never would it have happened because I didn't have any clothes.
Right.
So I had to do that. But now I'm going to give you one more. Another one. This is also Africa. I was in Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get to Rwanda, and I had jet lag. First time I'd ever been to Africa, so it's 24-hour flight, and I'm with they flew my whole band down because the country of Rwanda was coming out of the closet, so to speak. They had a genocide where over 1 million people were slaughtered. You knew about that, right? And the
Yeah.
movie Hotel Rwanda came out and all that, right?
Yeah.
About all that. So they got into a situation where they finally were like, you know what, we're sick of being, we've overcome this. We want the world to, forget, you know what I mean? Look at today's Rwanda. We are ready to show the world that we have overcome.
Right.
So they called Jazz for Peace. And they said, we need you to come over, do 2 concerts. We're also putting together, we're flying runners from all over the world, like a marathon. And we're going to have a peace marathon. Then we're going to have Jazz for Peace, play one concert for all the people and another concert for just the, dignitaries and all that,
Right.
the white black tie affair, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
so I get there, and I got jet lag, and I got a band to be responsible. What if something happens to one of these band members, and blah, 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 and all this stuff I'm worried about. And so we get to the first concert, and it's in a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing with that. That's for all the people, the Rwandan people, whoever wants to come to this concert. And they got other bands on the bill, other African bands. I don't know what's going on. And also it's Africa. So things go on different in Africa. People show up when they show up. Things go on all day long. It's not like, if you're not there at, it doesn't work that way in Africa. Like if you have something at 11 o'clock, someone might show up at 6 o'clock expecting to see what's supposed to happen at 11 because this is Africa. That's the way it's just going to go on. It's the whole day. So I get there now and I play, and there's an audience there, and I'm like, okay, it's nice, blah, blah, blah. But then there's more audience coming. And by the time we finish playing, there's a much bigger audience, except we're finished. So now I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm in Africa. I'm hanging with these people. They give me this giant beer with an elephant on it. So I drink a beer. It's got an elephant on it. I might as well drink it, And now I'm hanging out with everyone. Next thing I know, I start getting hit with that jet lag. You know what I'm saying? When you travel, who knows what time my body thinks it is? You know what I mean?
Right.
My body just shuts down, and I'm like, I just got to, guys, I'm just going to lie down for a second, just 2 minutes,
Yeah.
I go backstage now. It's an outdoor thing. I go backstage and I lie down, and when I wake up, the whole stadium is full of people. And there's a band on stage, like 14-piece African band, and the people are, and this whole thing is going crazy. Oh my God, how the hell am I going to get out of here? I mean, how am I going to get? I don't know how to. There's no way off this thing now. I've said, in other words, when I got on it, I could get off it, but now, I can't get out of this thing.
Right.
I can't get out without kind of cutting across the stage. So I start trying to cut across the stage, and people all of a sudden are like pointing to me. Everyone's like, "Hey, there he is! That's who's that?" And they're like looking at it. So now the whole crowd's looking at me, and then the band's looking at me like, "What's going on? What are you doing?" So now I'm in a pickle. I got to get out of, right?
Right.
I look at the keyboard. This band has a keyboard player, and I see that the keyboard has like 2 or 3 keyboards. In other words, he had a keyboard, and he had a rig, you know what I mean, with different keyboards. I said, you know what? I'm just going to pretend that I know what the hell those guys are doing and go up and just walk over there, play with them. Because I can't get out this way.
Right.
I can't get out that way. So I'm just going to go up, because I can see because they had a keyboard player, I could see his hands. I can see what the harmony he's playing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I go up there, and everybody's like, whoa, what is he doing? Oh, this is amazing. What's he going to do? And I start, and he plays something, and I said, okay, I know what that is. And I do this, what? You know what I mean? He's maybe playing this, and I'm like, I can do all kinds of things on that, if that's what you're going to do. You're going to do that? I'll do all this.
Right.
Transform the song into who the hell knows what, because I didn't even know what it's supposed to sound like in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's transformed into something, and the people are going crazy, and the musicians are going crazy, and my band members are watching in the audience, and they're like, wow, I didn't know Rick knew African music. They think I'm an African aficionado. I know all these songs. I'm just
Right.
cheating off the guy's hands. So they go up on stage. So now all the, my band's up there with those guys are with a percussion instrument, a drum, everything. And we're all up on stage together. The people are going crazy. And after that, I get a message from the States the next day. Hey, they sent us this wild message. Do you want to see it? And I said, yeah, send it to me. And they sent it to me. And it's, the bands, they got together and they played in uniform, and they showed how African Americans, and it was it was unbelievable. And we don't know how Rick knew that, and they made it was a huge thing. So the next day I was supposed to play with the dignitaries, just a black tie affair, and they had some things up, and we go there, and I'm going through the buffet, African food. This all looks good, and there was another African dance group, whatever, amazing. And we're like, okay, and like, weren't we supposed to play now? What the heck's going on? Are they going to deport us or going to let us play? I mean, we're supposed to play an hour ago.
Right.
They can't. No, trucks are coming up, and they're bringing all these tables in and moving, displacing people and pushing people and pushing, because of that. What happened last night?
Right.
Which, like I said, well, I didn't even know what the hell we were doing. We didn't even know the song.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, whatever it was, it must have sounded good.
Right.
All these rich people and dignitaries, and the sultan of this and whatever, need to come to this event now. So it's all packed with all of those people. So what I'm trying to say is, what I really try to do when I'm in a pickle is get 10 times calmer than however calm I am, I try to get calmer. I try to get amazingly calm to address the quagmire in front of me.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes I just allow, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just let everything flow.
Yeah, I allow something to flow. I'm like, you know what? Whatever's going to come out of this is not going to be from me. It's going to have to. It's going to have to be something that is meant to be, and I'm just going to have to get on that train.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Now, in your opinion, what are the biggest trends or development currently shaping the future of jazz?
Well, I think with Jazz for Peace, it's the first time that the world is starting to see that music can have a transformational, positive effect, and possibly create a win-win situation where all of these colonialism and all these situations don't have to be a I win you lose game. You know what I mean? But we can, with music and the arts and culture, maybe we can create win-win opportunities that will, help us. And people are really surprised, because what happened after that LinkedIn situation, I told you we had over 1 million people in 1 week, over 1 million impressions. We decided, since that we had that many people, we would conduct a vote, and we have policies to address different problems.
Right.
For example, with technology, our solution is to take some of the money that's coming from these robots that can do jobs of people, and take that money and help other people who don't have to do that job, but have dreams inside of their spirit like everybody else has, and if we can tap into the dreams of those people so that they can solve some of our world's problems. So what I'm hoping that music and the arts and culture will be taken more seriously with this situation in the Middle East. We want the world to consider funding peace at 1%. So in other words, go from 0 to 1. Right now, we fund war at 100%, and we fund peace at 0%. It's no wonder we're getting the result we're getting, right? But with Jazz for Peace, look at what Jazz for Peace is doing with nothing. Imagine if we had 1%. How about we do this? How about we do 99 over there? Okay, you guys are still getting 99. Give us 1 and watch all the good we can do.
Wow. So what is the with Jazz for Peace is basically, it sounds like it's a movement now. It's something that And so you basically put on this peaceful jazz events to benefit whatever cause that you're playing for.
Well, yeah, and see, the thing is, a lot of people don't really know what jazz is because it's been so marginalized. So
Right.
what I'm able to do, because I'm a musician, I've played all styles of music, I've played all kinds of bands, and I can take any kind of music and then
Mm-hmm.
take you on a jazz journey. And that's what I've been doing on some of these podcasts where I take songs, and what I do is I just ask our volunteers
Mm-hmm.
to send me a song that you like. Just make a request, almost like a piano bar entertainer. You know what I mean? With a tip
Yeah.
jar. I let the volunteers send me a song. So I said, well, what do you think of this podcast? What would you send me to play? And they sent me. They made a request. So I would
Mm-hmm.
take that song now and then go into a jazz improvisation, and
Mm-hmm.
then hopefully you and your listeners and people will see what jazz is and say,
Right.
wow, he's going to play this music, which is not something we know much about,
Mm-hmm.
but we should know about it. And he's going to help an outstanding cause and make our world better, which
Yeah.
is not what happens when you normally just go to, your average Joe hip hop or other event. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to bring a lot more to the table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have your own personal band that
Well,
plays with you now?
here's the thing: jazz is a universal language. So
Right.
anybody who speaks it, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like talking. You follow
Mm-hmm.
me? So
Yeah.
like you're in Philadelphia, right?
Outside of Philadelphia.
Outside Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
I've Jazz for Peace has been, and I've been to Philadelphia as a musician,
Yeah.
and so now, yes, there are times when I would play with the same band over and over and over again. There are those times, but
Mm-hmm.
there are also times when you might see me on stage and I have never even spoken to the musicians. We never even talked, or
Right.
maybe we talked, but we never played together. We just
Right.
talked about maybe what some tunes we're going to go over on the set.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we've known each other all our lives. Well,
Mm.
that's what jazz is, because they're rehearsing. We're rehearsing now to speak together on the stage when we do it. Now, I had a
Mm-hmm.
guy once call me up from a jazz club near Philadelphia, and he wanted me to come out there, and he put me together with some of the top Philadelphia jazz musicians ever. And I'll tell you one of the names, I don't remember all their names, but I remember the saxophone player's name was McKenna, something McKenna. So look
Mm-hmm.
that up and you'll see this old sax guy who
Mm-hmm.
was a hero in jazz in Philadelphia, and his last name is McKenna. And he was on the gig. And then I know a drummer's name was Byron Landum, and he
Mm-hmm.
was on the gig, and he's another big local musician. And the other guys too. They were like, and man, we had to show up and just play. We didn't. People didn't know. They didn't know. They might have thought I brought that band from New York City, but
Right.
that's what jazz is. So sometimes you get to do that, and sometimes you just have to play with whoever's on there and hope they're really good. Now, if you want to talk Philadelphia, I've played with some of the greatest jazz musicians that ever came out of Philadelphia. One is named Sonny Fortune. If you ever look his name up on the internet or whatever, Sonny
Mm-hmm.
Fortune, saxophone player from Philadelphia. And another one is Wayne Dockery, who's a bass player, and he used to play with George Benson. You know George
Mm-hmm.
Benson, right? He played with George Benson right up until those hits started coming out, and he
Yeah.
left because it wasn't enough jazz for him anymore. He thought George Benson was getting too pop oriented, so he
Right.
left. And another guy came in right when the money showed up, right when he recorded This Masquerade and on
Mm-hmm.
Broadway. The Another guy showed up and got all that money. But Wayne was, he was a stickler for it's got to be hardcore jazz or nothing for him. So
Yeah.
Wayne's brother, I believe, may have passed away, but if you look, Dockery, those guys are from Philadelphia. And then crazy thing is, the bass player who showed up and took and played on all those hits, I played with him once up in Harlem. I played. It was a TV show, and they
Mm-hmm.
wanted me to play with a trio, and they called him because he lived right down the street, and I took the subway, and and a drummer, and they used us for a show called. It was a show about 42nd Street. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the show is called The Deuce, and
Mm-hmm.
if you ever watch this episode, I play the musical director for Sarah Vaughan. They found a woman I knew this woman actually. She looked just like Sarah Vaughan did in the 1970s, and she was a singer. So
Mm.
they brought her, and I played the role of the music director, and then they used, but that was the other bass player from George Benson. So it's
Right.
almost incestual, is what I'm telling you. So we know each other, and we love each other so much. I mean, I have so much mutual respect amongst the musicians.
Wow, that's cool. Can you share a memorable or rewarding moment from your career that has had a lasting impact on you?
Wow, there are so many. Oh my God, where would I start? There's one I've shared a lot just because I feel like you people need to hear it. And
Hmm.
that is, this was in LA, and I've been to LA a lot of times, and there's a bunch
Right.
of, I can tell you great stories about LA, but this one I have to tell you because there was a woman whose son was bullied in the school system that she had, where she was in the LA region. And
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing to help bullies. There was no organization that helped bullying in the schools. So she
Mm-hmm.
founded an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this woman, here she founds the organization all by herself. And she's got, her and maybe her cousin is on the board or whatever, and they call Jazz for Peace. And we grow this, what we call an empowerment tree. So we
Mm-hmm.
try to help them get sponsors. We try to help them get publicity and awareness. We try to help them get new and prestigious supporters, of course, raise funds, all these things. And I
Mm-hmm.
do all this, and I go out there and I get this great band together. The band members were sidemen with a great trumpet player named Freddie Hubbard, if you ever look his name up. But they
Mm-hmm.
were in his side because in LA has great musicians, period. But Freddie
Yeah.
Hubbard lived in LA. Freddie Hubbard
Mm.
was great, but he lived in LA, and so these guys played on his records during the time that he lived out there. So I did everything I could, and I got back, and I was like, man, maybe this is just a crazy idea of mine, thinking I could save the world with just little old me and a
Mm-hmm.
piano, with my idea. And I was a little down in the dumps because who knows if I really, who knows what I did.
Yeah.
So I'm with some volunteers now, and we're going through the normal routine, and this email pops in, bing, and I see it's from her. I was like, oh boy, here's
Mm-hmm.
the moment of truth. I know what it's going to say now. It's going to
Right.
say, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to say, nice try, basically, is what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say, nice try. And I'm going to say, yeah, thank you. We tried her. But, it didn't say anything about funds raised. It didn't say
Right.
anything about sponsors. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
say anything about new and prestigious supporters. It didn't say anything about a publicity and awareness. You know what she talked about?
What's that?
The transformation of her son.
Hmm.
How do you like that?
Wow. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because what would I have wanted to do more than anything
Right.
is heal that boy.
Right.
And she's telling me in this letter, he went from being suicidal at one point, not even wanting to live in this world because of, these kids. They don't know what the hell they're doing, these young kids that bully people. I was a young kid. I know we were stupid as, we didn't even, if we knew what we were doing to some little kid, we wouldn't have done it.
Right.
We're
Right.
just idiots.
Yeah.
Someone needs to stop us. But
Mm-hmm.
here's it. He said his outlook on life is way beyond it was before he was bullied, because he can't believe that this world is full of so much love, that a big, great jazz, in his eyes, that's some big star, come all the way out from New York, you know what I mean? And brings it and brings a horn and gives it to the school and does this and he just can't, you know what I mean? So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, that's what it's all about, helping
Yeah.
the kid. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
oh, you get the sponsor so you can help the kid. You made
Mm-hmm.
some money to help the kid. I already helped the kid.
Mm. Wow.
Just what we did help the kid. So in other words, I thought I was gonna see a bunt single, and I got a grand slam home run. I mean, she hit it out of the park as far as you could hit it.
Mm.
What more could I have ever wanted from that result than that, is my point.
Mm. Mm. How do you approach collaboration and building relationships within the industry?
You know, um, I've been on some wild collaborations. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one collaboration was with the London Symphony Orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a call once from a professor who, because I did a master's in composition, jazz composition, but
Mm-hmm.
he looked at me as someone who was a possible composer, for the future. You know what I mean? Like a composer. Even though I was doing all kinds of stuff musically, the last thing I was doing was, trying to starve to death writing a symphony that's never going to get played. But
Right.
he's like, "Hey, Rick, here's the deal. I got these he started a record label called Master Musicians Collective. So there
Mm.
you go, collective. And he wants to bring all these master musicians together in a collective.
Mm.
And he was like that other guy was like, I got this one, I got that one, I got Dizzy Gillespie, I got so and so, I got so. He's like, I have these situations coming up. I've got the Uvarian Symphony. I've
Mm-hmm.
got the Ukrainian. I've got the Korean, someone out of Kiev. I've got the
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. I've got the I've got the London Symphony. I've got the and did you just say London Symphony Orchestra?
Mm.
Some do I need a hearing aid? Yes, we have something coming up with them in Abbey Road Studio. Abbey Road to the Beatles?
Mm.
I said
Wow.
I think I'm going to take that one. So I had to write something now. It had to be just this amount. It
Mm.
had to fit all these specifics because it was going to be on a compilation CD, and there's only so much time at Abbey Road Studio. They're renting it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I had to fit into all of those situations. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
so in collaborations, I look at collaborations with a lot of leeway. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. I look at them with a lot of leeway because sometimes if you look at it in its narrow focus, there's not
Right.
much to get out of it. But if you
Mm-hmm.
open it up, maybe you'll find that sweet spot where all of a sudden you have something exciting, something beyond what the narrow possibility that you were looking at. So that's what I really do. I try to see if there's something out there that we don't know about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what upcoming events that you have that you're going to be playing at?
Well,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of. I mean, what I'm doing right now is trying to get through a loads of interviews. So
Okay.
I was on one, and I play on these interviews. I'm actually going to play something for you in a couple minutes.
Okay. Good. I'm looking
So
forward
yeah,
to it.
I'm gonna reach. So what I'm doing is trying to make it through all these interviews. I'm trying to reach people, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because there's so many on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone called me recently from London. Speaking of
Mm-hmm.
London, this was a club in London, and
Mm.
there was no way I could get out there for what they
Right.
had. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I did for them is we worked something out where I basically played this piano, and they
Mm-hmm.
pulled what they had other live acts, but for me
Right.
they pulled down a giant a giant screen, and it
Mm-hmm.
beamed
Right.
in
Oh,
onto.
that's nice. Yeah.
I performed for them that way. Now,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, when I get out of all of this, out of this thing again, I'm kind of letting it. I have to let this roll because it's so much stuff. I mean,
Right.
yesterday there were two. There was one a couple days ago that was kind of memorable for me because it was from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So they're from all over the place. And I know there's something tomorrow. There was something just before you. I had a guy just before you
Well,
that
they
yeah,
had a yeah, they
what?
had a lot of stuff going on. They have a lot of stuff going on as far as like jazz festivals, especially around this time of year, June, July in the Philadelphia area. Uh
Okay.
yeah, they have a lot of jazz events going on. And also in New Jersey as well. So yeah, jazz is a big thing. It's a big thing, and it's I like listening to jazz also going out to like uh events or parks with a lounge chair and just listen to a good jazz band play and just
Okay.
kick back and relax. And they have a lot of that around in these local areas over in my area where I'm at.
Well, I have a question for you. You like R&B, right?
Yeah, I like R&B.
Like Chaka Khan?
Yep. I'm every woman.
Right. But you
You know,
know, a request that came in was "Ain't Nobody."
ain't nobody.
Right.
Do I know the words? Love you
That-
better. Yeah.
so what I could do, I could start out not even in jazz. I could start out in rhythm and blues. Okay.
Okay.
I'll go from "Ain't Nobody" now.
Okay.
However I can do. I mean, I'm not gonna have a sex change or nothing, but I'll do what I can now. And then
Oh,
I'll go from that into a free improvisation. And that's going to be one of those things like, I don't know, something could, something's, who knows what's going to come out. Something from Philadelphia could come out in that because anything could happen. All right. Whatever the stars give us. And
okay.
then I'm going to go in something that's going to put you in the setting of what you're talking about, where you're in a lounge chair outside
Right.
in the summertime. And this is
Right.
a song that was recorded originally by a great jazz trumpet player named Chet Baker.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from a movie called Let's Get Lost, and the song is called Moon and Sand. So we're gonna
Moon and sand.
right.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what happens. Okay,
Okay. Let's
don't
hear
try
it.
this. Yeah, don't
It's
try this.
first time I had some live entertainment on my platform,
That's
so
what we all
let's go
time.
for it.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Captured effortlessly. That's the way it was. Happened so naturally. I did not know it was love. The next thing I felt was you holding me close. What was I gonna do? I let myself go. Now I'm flying through the stars. I hope this night will last forever. Oh, oh, oh. Ain't nobody love me better, make me happy, make me feel this way. Ain't nobody love me better, make me happy, make me feel this way. First you put your arms around me, then you put your charms around me. I got a feeling those were treasure. And a love so deep we cannot measure. Make me feel this way. Ain't nobody love me better. Make me happy. Make me feel this way. Ain't nobody love me better. Make me the midnight sea. Warm is the fragrant land. Sweet are your lips to me. Soft as the moon and sun. When will we meet again? Now that the stars have left us, will a spell remain? The waves invade the shore. Though we may kiss no more. Night is at our command. Moon and sand and the magic of love. Magic of love.
Wow. Woo! I like that. First time I got some entertainment on my podcast. Yeah. That was nice. Really nice. I have a question for you, being that this is a mental health and wellness podcast.
Sure.
How do you believe music, specifically jazz, can positively impact mental health and well-being, both for the listeners and for the performers like yourself?
I'm going to tell you exactly how. When if you ever look up now, Rick DellaRatta, famous quote, you will see a sentence that I said on thousands of famous quotes website. Every famous quote website in the world has somehow latched onto this one sentence that I said off the top of my head in an interview only 15 days after the events of 9/11. And someone lifted it and it just went viral all over the famous quotes websites. And that's basically, if we fill ourselves with, and now I named our greatest qualities as a species, our greatest qualities as people, as human beings. If you go into the greatest people that ever lived, whoever they are, Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana, the great Africans, whoever they are, any nationality, from Russia, you know what I mean? Tchaikovsky, whoever they are, they embraced intellectuality, they embraced creativity, they embraced humanity, you know what I mean? And I listed them all, and I said, if we just embrace these things, we will have a better chance at avoiding the behavior that leads to destruction. Now, we are in a ism, because that's all these, we're always in an ism, no matter where you live. You're either in Marxism or communism or capitalism, which we're in. And because of this ism that we're in, okay, they try to use music to basically purely entertain you, so pastime entertain you, or sell products, you know what I mean? Or background music, but that, if you look at, that's not the scope of what music is, you know what I mean? Beethoven didn't try to sell toothpaste.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Try to do that.
Yeah.
And
we're always in this hustle survival mindset.
Right. And
we gotta learn how to relax. You know what I mean?
Not only that, but we need to take off the cover of what we're the limiting music to. You see what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Dizzy Gillespie wasn't trying to sell you more alcohol when he played his trumpet.
Right.
He wasn't like trying to get you to buy another drink. That wasn't what he was trying to do, But see, if you take the cover off, and now you have all of those things are in music, and especially all of them are in the art form of jazz. So
Mm,
when you hear me now, instead
mm,
of just hearing Chaka Khan, which is beautiful music, it's great, it's entertaining, or just hearing me sing, but you're also hearing some thought-provoking things. You're hearing things in the spontaneous. You're hearing things, and hopefully you're hearing a musical presentation that has creativity, that has human, all of the things that we should be embracing in order to have a better chance. Well, guess what? You're really going to have a better chance if you embrace those things: mental health and wellness.
that's right.
Embrace those qualities, and bring yourself and go to where those qualities are being embraced.
Mm-hmm.
So the music of Jazz for Peace, hey, we're going to entertain you. Don't worry. You
Mm,
need some entertainment. We're going to give it to you, but we're going to give you, we're going to make you think about, we're going to make you think about things. We're going to, you know what I mean? We're going to wake up your, you know what I mean? Wake you up in all different types of ways, and
right.
all those ways. And then, of course, if the Jazz for Peace poem, at
Mm,
the very end of the Jazz for Peace poem, the words that came out of me on that day while I was watching was, the gift of giving
mm-hmm.
is our greatest quality. Something like that is the
Yes.
last of these words. So the musicians, of course, we are also getting a lot out of it
Mm-hmm.
by conveying that to you, instead
Right.
of conveying some stupid idea for you to buy another, Caribbean
Product or something.
cruise.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You can still buy it, but we don't have to do it right now. You know what I mean?
Right. Just enjoy the music. Just kick back and relax and just enjoy the
Yeah,
music. And
and let it positive, let it have as positive effect as it possibly can on you, just like the profoundly positive effect that it had on that, that guy I told you, Ray Black, or Roy Black, I think his name was.
right.
Even though he was white, but that was his name, and it that profound. Who knows? We don't know what could happen, but let's put ourselves in environments where those possibilities exist, instead of limiting them into situations where, man, that music is so terrible, I better get another drink.
Right. Wow. Wow. That was a good message. I like that. I like that. So what is the next event you have coming up? Do you have anything coming up?
Well, we don't, right now we have people that are looking into events. So,
Okay.
but here's how you get an event with Jazz for Peace. Okay. What you have to do is you send a comment to us, because what we do, our events are about a tree. So it's all about growing a tree. What starts a tree from growing? A seedling,
Mhm.
right? So it's a little seedling. So let's say we want to bring Jazz for Peace back to Philadelphia, which would be a good idea, because I know there's Kensington Park and there's a lot of crazies. There's a lot of people that could use some healing in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, I
So
think people
let's
need everybody can use some healing right now. It's so much going on around the world right now. We got the war, then it's just a lot going on.
I'm going to
It,
show you right now how to make a healing happen right where you are. Okay. So the first thing you do, you take your podcast,
mhm.
go to someone who wants to straighten this out, who would like to see this whole situation going in the right direction. And you say,
Mhm.
watch this podcast, watch this guy. You like what you saw? Does that say he's done it over 850 times all around the world? What about here? Here, he's even done it before. I have a poster right over here. There's posters all over this office. I have the poster right over here from Philadelphia,
Mm.
Darfur. We were helping some genocide in Darfur in Philadelphia, and there's a big poster. But anyway, um, did you like that? Well, you know what? Write him an email at info@jazzforpeace.org, and just send him a little of what you thought.
Mhm.
Guess what that is? That's a seedling.
Yeah, that's a seed.
That's a seedling. So what
Yeah.
I do is we will contact that person back, because he'll probably say in the little thing he wrote, just want to know, I'm so, and we look at who is he? Well, he's so and so from such and such food pantry, anything, could be anything,
Right.
doing some good cause, and we'll say, listen, how would you like a world-class cultural event at no cost to you, that brings you funds, publicity and awareness, new and prestigious supporters, sponsors, all of these branches? Gee, that sounds good. Great. Let's grow this seedling into roots. And we'll
Mm.
take his comment and we'll put it in a little document. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll show it to him, and we'll go back and forth a little bit till he's happy with it. He shows that document to, hopefully he has some board members if he's a nonprofit, or whoever it is. If, they show it to some other people that are also like-minded, and they make a comment.
Mm-hmm.
That thing now grows to roots.
Right.
Now we will do some extra work because we want it to look just like a tree, and the tree has these all little twiggy things underneath, and expand it. Guess what we have from that? From that we can get a confirmed event. Once your event is confirmed, that means it's time to come out of the ground. That's when we're able to grow the branches, the sponsorship branch. We get the sponsors, all of those things, and we will show that person numerous testimonials from previous events right in Philadelphia.
Well, there you go. You just put it out there.
You have some nice churches there, and I know that because we played in them.
Where in Philadelphia?
One of them is called Cardinal Bevilacqua. Have you ever heard of that one? I don't know if you've heard of it, but
I never heard of it.
That comes to mind because they had to get senior services in there. They needed ramps for people. Their congregation was getting older.
Okay.
We did Jazz for Peace for them, and that would be one of the letters I'd be sending to whoever it is in Philadelphia that you show your podcast to, or anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we do. So in other words, here's what we do. We provide the way for those who have the will.
Right. Right. Well,
that's what we do. But right now, I'm kind of doing a zillion of these podcasts. That's how you know about me, because it takes you guys so long to catch up to the artists. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Last time I was in Vienna, I happened to notice that Mozart got a gig that he qualified for in 1731. And there he was, if he's dead if he had only lived 300 years longer, he could have played on Saturday night, the last time I was in Vienna.
Right, right. Well, you just put it out there. You just put it out there for, it's in the atmosphere.
Well, let's see. Let's bring, we can bring it back. We've done a lot of stuff in Philadelphia, and like I said, we can bring it back. That's how we do it. That's basically how we do it. It starts with a little comment. Yeah. So if you want to see trees growing all around you, just show your podcast to some people that have outstanding causes or represent outstanding causes, or just want to see the reverse of what's going on, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because we're going to do the opposite.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Well, you put it in the atmosphere, and we're gonna let it go from there. Well, Rick, thanks a lot for stopping in and onto the platform and sharing. I was excited when I found out I was gonna have you on the podcast, and because I've heard about you. I never attended any of your events, but I did hear about you. And for those who are watching, look out for Rick DellaRatta. He's a good jazz artist, I'm telling you. And look out for his organization, Jazz for Peace. And let's make it happen. Hey, let's stay connected and take this thing to the next level. You know what I mean? So for those who are watching, please make sure you like, subscribe, and also tune in each week for the next guest. And Rick, thanks a lot. Any last minute things you want to say, or any social media platforms where people can follow you?
Sure. Well, again, that email address is info at jazzforpeace.org, jazzforpeace.org. And then if you know how to spell my name, there's rickdellaratta.com. And of course, there's always jazzforpeace.org. So jazzforpeace.org. And, someone told me this just yesterday. If you go on YouTube search and you type Jazz for Peace, but you put it in quotations, you'll get to like maybe hundreds of stuff.
A lot of footage and stuff.
But you would have to put it in quotations, because if you just write Jazz for Peace,
right,
you might see something about jazz, you might see another thing about peace, and you might see something about four if there's
right.
Just who the heck knows what they're going to give you. Yeah.
Yes. So you have to specify that.
That's what someone told me, and I tried it, and a lot of stuff came up.
Really?
Quotations, Jazz for Peace and quotations in the YouTube search. One of our volunteers actually told me that.
Okay. All right. So again, tune in next week. Thanks again, Rick, for stopping in. Appreciate you. Until then, I'll talk to you later. Take care, Rick. It was nice having you on.
My pleasure, Crystal. Anytime.